everyone, it's Maria, and welcome to the Breaking Up with Toxicity podcast. Thank you for being with me today. Each week, I will connect with people as they share relatable life experiences. We will talk about and at times challenge reoccurring unhealthy and toxic patterns that keep you from the changes you want to see as you break these unhealthy cycles. So let's get started and see where this show will take us today. Be sure to listen and don't forget to follow so that you never miss an episode. Welcome back to Breaking Up with Toxicity. I'm your host, Maria Shkreli, a therapist, author, relationship translator, and the woman who will happily tell you the truth with love, clarity, and absolutely some sugarcoating, but not too much. Now listen, if you've been following these last two episodes, you already had your mind cracked open a little bit. In the empathy episode, you learned that empathy is not one thing. In the attachment episode, you learned your attachment style is not your personality. It's your nervous system's survival strategy. But today is where so many people finally go, oh, damn, this is why everything in my relationship feels so misunderstood. We're going to have these aha moments because they were mixing empathy with an attachment. And this is where good people who love each other end up hurting each other. Anyway, this is where intentions get misread, comfort gets rejected, silence gets very personalized, logic gets mistaken for coldness, emotion gets mistaken for manipulation, and two people who really do care deeply accidentally drag each other into the same painful cycle. So today I'm going to be breaking down why you expect a certain type of empathy, why your attachment style created that expectation, why your partner's empathy triggers the hell out of you, why you keep misreading someone who actually really does care, why conflict feels like the same recycled argument over and over, and how you can finally stop seeing people through your fear and start seeing them clearly for who and what they are. Because let me tell you something. It's so alarming how often I see couples and even families where they're at such an unhealthy stage. They're just about to call it quits. And most of the time is because of the misinterpretation and misunderstanding between empathy, the attachment style, and then I'm not going to get into it in this episode, but expectations. Most relationships don't end because of lack of love. They end because people don't understand why the other feels love and how they feel love, how they give love, how they receive love, or even how they interpret love. And a lot of that is empathy meeting attachment. So let's begin and start to go a little bit deeper here. Here's the thing that nobody taught you. Your attachment style secretly decides what kind of empathy feels comforting, what kind of empathy feels threatening, what kind of empathy feels like love, what kind of empathy feels like rejection, and what kind of empathy feels smothering even, and then what kind of empathy does feel very distant. Attachment decides your emotional language. Empathy decides your response pattern. This is why two people can be in the same situation, in the same room, in the same conversation, and yet completely misread each other. For example, one of you thinks I'm helping you feel better. The other is thinking you're emotionally abandoning me right now. Or one person thinks, I just need some time to breathe. And their partner hears, you're leaving me. This isn't personality. What's going on here is that's attachment that's driving the car, and the empathy is trying to be the GPS, but both are speaking completely different languages. Let's break down how each attachment style gives, receives, and misinterprets empathy. So we're going to get into some combinations, and this is where the mess becomes a map. So let's take avoidant attachment and cognitive empathy. Avoidants don't do emotional flooding. They don't do feel with me. They don't do spiraling on the floor in matching pajamas. Their nervous system says emotions equal overwhelmed. Overwhelmed equals danger. Danger equals fix it fast. So avoidants use logic, problem solving, strategy, next steps, clarity, and distance. This is cognitive empathy. And to them, this is love. They generally think saying, here's what we should do. Okay, let's figure out the solution. It's not that deep, we'll fix it. That is support for them. But to someone who's anxious, this is emotional starvation. The anxious partner is overthinking here, right? That's what goes on here. Can you please stop being a robot and just sit with me for 30 seconds? Avoidant empathy is brain first, Anxious empathy is heart first. And the collision, oh boy, is it so loud here with this dynamic. Now we're going to move on to anxious attachment and emotional empathy. Okay, where are all my anxious attachers here? These are the big feelers, my heart on the table, human beings. They're the people who want closeness, connection, mirroring, warmth, immediate response, and a lot of reassurance. To them, empathy is feel this with me, sit in it with me, don't make me do this alone. If you walk in with logic, they don't hear logic. What they hear is, I don't care, you're too much, your emotions are inconvenient. Anxious attachers get dysregulated when empathy doesn't arrive in the emotional tone that they crave and that they need. So to them, presence is love and distance is a lot of danger. Now we have secure attachment and compassionate empathy. So secure people combine understanding and are very grounded in their actions. They're like, I hear you, I feel you, and let's not stay drowning in this for 3 days. They are very steady, they're consistent, they're pretty regulated. They're the emotional anchor, but here's the thing with them. Secure people aren't bottomless wells either. They can get drained by the constant spirals. They can get annoyed by the shutting down. They can get overwhelmed by the inconsistency. They can also become the therapist's partner if they're not careful, which leads to a lot of resentment. Now, the disorganized attachers are living both fear at once. So they fear of too much closeness. They fear of not enough closeness also. Their empathy style mirrors this. One day they offer deep emotional presence, right? The next day they emotionally vanish from you. One moment they're soothing you, and then the next moment they're overwhelmed. They crave the attention, but then they get terrified of the connection. Their empathy system is scrambling and it scrambles a lot. Come close? Actually, no. Wait, yes, no, too much. Don't leave, stay there. Go away, come back. No, 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 don't. Okay, fine. This is not manipulation. This is trauma trying to regulate itself. Their empathy changes with the fear, and that inconsistency can be so deeply confusing for their partners. So, we're going to go into some scenarios. We have the anxious crying and the avoidant who's always fixing. Let's say you're crying, your heart is on the floor, you're vulnerable, you're raw, and you're hurting. Your avoidant partner walks in like a Home Depot employee. Okay, what happened? How do we fix this? What's step one? And you're like, I'm not assembling IKEA furniture. Just be with me, be in the moment. Meanwhile, they genuinely believe that they're helping you feel better. They're saying, I love you. I want to solve this. You're hearing, get over it. This is empathy misalignment. It's not a lack of care. Here we go. Scenario two. I need space versus you're leaving me. So the avoidant says, I need space. Their body means I need to regulate so I don't shut down. The anxious partner, you're abandoning me. You don't love me. Something is wrong and you're hiding it. Different nervous systems have different meanings. This is why the same sentence hits two people in such opposite ways. Now we have the disorganized emotional whiplash. So let's say you're dating someone who is disorganized. You think they're bonding deeply, then suddenly they pull away, they freeze, they panic, they say, I need space then. Why aren't you fighting for me? They want closeness, but then at the same time, they fear it. It feels very personal. It feels hot, cold, and so confusing. But it's not about you. Their empathy and their connection shifts based on their emotional fear. This is trauma. Remember, this is not rejection. Now we have the secure partner who's carrying all the weight. So with a secure partner, they see your panic, they see your withdrawal, when you're overwhelmed, your confusion, and they respond something like, I'm here, I'm not leaving, let's figure all this out. But even the secure partner has a breaking point. They can feel like I'm always the adult. I can't be your emotional oxygen tank forever. I can be your partner, but I can't always be your therapist. So their compassion could get really stretched thin in these relationships. So what are the triggers that empathy activates in each attachment? So with avoidance, they get triggered by intensity, crying, emotional pressure, we need to talk, immediate expectations. So what happens here is that their nervous system shuts down to avoid being and feeling overwhelmed. Your anxious attachers get triggered by logic, slow responses, space, silence, lack of emotional reciprocation, and their nervous system spirals when the closeness feels uncertain to them. Secure attachers get triggered by being emotionally overloaded, being blamed for trauma, being inconsistent, emotional games, manipulation, and shutdowns with no communication. So their nervous system gets tired of being the regulator all the time, the adult. The disorganized attachers get triggered by too much closeness, too much distance, inconsistency, predictability, unpredictability, losing control, and having to attach or detach. So their nervous system is so confused and empathy shifts with the fears that are going on. So a lot of the times, the moments where empathy and attachment collide is the biggest misunderstandings happen in these various situations, and that's texting, somebody's tone, how you argue, the crying, conflict resolutions, silence, how you reassure, asking for needs, interpreting body language. So these are various different reasons of where misunderstandings can happen in attachment and empathy. So this is where the collision occurs. Empathy mismatches feel like rejection for a lot of people. They feel personal, but they are not personal. They are nervous systems who are speaking two different dialects of emotional language. So how do we stop misreading each other? Well, you stop misreading people when you learn your own attachment style needs, learn your partner's empathy style, pause and regulate before you're reacting, communicate your emotional preference. Stop assuming the worst and recognizing that empathy you want is not always the empathy that they can offer. Let people love you also in their language while teaching them yours. Empathy can be taught, attachments can be softened, and patterns can change. Thank you for joining me on Breaking Up with Toxicity. Today we unraveled emotional chemistry between empathy and attachment, the invisible combo that dictates how you read people, how you misread people, and how you internalize connection. When you understand your system and their system, you finally stop taking everything so personally. Love becomes clearer, communication becomes softer, conflict becomes repairable, and relationships stop feeling like a maze. So join me next week. Your patterns have been running the show long enough. It's time to take the wheel. I'll see you in the next episode.